now. So welcome to tonight's session, which will be mainly run by the amazing Kerry Williams. So I'm just going to do a brief overview of the Christmas season. Please do feel free to comment along, join in the comments. So I'll do a brief overview. Then Kerry is going to give you lots of tips and ideas all about your business at Christmas. And then there's time at the end for you to ask Kerry any questions. No pressure to Kerry, but I asked Kerry to do this session because she has so many different ideas, doing so many things, and she's incredibly organised when it comes to her events. So I thought she would have some really interesting and useful bits for you to pick up on. Also, massive welcome if you have just joined and this is your first or partner session. Thanks for joining us and for coming along. Some of the faces I can see, it's definitely not your first session, but welcome anyway. And congrats to those of you that are looking festive this evening. Was not a requirement, but well done to those who knew the assignment without knowing the assignment. So I'm going to share my screen now. And for once, I don't think I have sound, which is good. So I'm not going to forget to turn that on. So tonight's session is all about Christmas because we are in September and the Christmas season is well upon us. I saw something on Twitter or one of the social medias the other day that was Tesco had put signs up already saying like, is everyone ready for Christmas? The person had replied, absolutely not. But supermarkets are thinking it. My Sainsbury's has got out all the Christmas chocolates already. So everywhere's thinking about Christmas. So you may as well jump on that bandwagon and get involved in the everything festive too. So this is your biggest sales opportunity of the year. I looked up what the biggest selling months for Usborne Community Partnerships were of 2022. In at number one is November. So if you've just started or you're thinking, oh, I came to this session because I have no idea what to do for Christmas, don't you worry. You have got plenty of time between now and November to fill your diaries with lots of events. Or if you are a leader and you've got people interested in joining your team, they've got plenty of time. November was the biggest selling month. October was the biggest selling month prior to November. So again, that's heavily dependent on Christmas. March is World Book Day. Christmas is a great time to get yourself prepped with your contacts that you might want to do World Book Day events with. So it's like the double whammy, selling lots of books for Christmas, but also getting events booked in for World Book Day. September, that links to the Christmas again, and that people are starting their Christmas selling in September. July, I think that was just because we had a sale in July in 2022, in all honesty. I don't think there's anything more exciting than that linked to that one. Could you please make sure you are muted if you're listening, just so we don't get any background noise on this. So the biggest, I thought you might also be interested to know, the biggest selling books of the last 12 months. So this is excluding the starter kit because obviously that's kind of heavily affected by people joining. But the biggest selling books of the last 12 months were, number one, the Advent Calendar book collection. So festive. Number two, all you need to know before you start school. Number three was the Advent box set, also festive. Number four was That's Not My Robin. You're kind of starting to see a trend here. Number five was Get Ready for School activity pack. Number six was Santa's Christmas Journey wind up sleigh. If you're not yet a convert to the wind up, I'm hoping this session will definitely convert you to why you should sell all of the wind ups. Then you had My Animal Stories reading library, Shadow Chaser, Enchanted Christmas Magic Painting Christmas cards, Christmas magic painting book. I'm hoping you're kind of seeing a trend here of what is going to sell really well for you. Dinosaurs magic painting, The Train to Impossible Places, Unicorns magic painting, Billy and the Mini Monsters set 2, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas board book, The 12 Days of Christmas, Christmas Lights and Sounds, and then another magic painting and a reading library. So this is based on the last 12 months. So obviously Christmas sales, I would say, tend to be between September and December. Some really keen people do start buying Christmas things in August, but it's a fraction of the year. And yet those are the books that have sold the best. So it just shows you how high the demand is for Christmas books, and that you should definitely capitalize on those and get selling those Christmas books. So what can you offer? Well, you can bring your books to people wherever they want them. And I think this is your biggest advantage. I don't know how many of you possess people like this in your family, but my husband likes to do his shopping on Christmas Eve. He really likes to cut things fine. Frustrates me every year, but he continues to do it. But this is where you come in, of targeting those people like my husband that are incredibly disorganized. And if books were just brought to his workplace, he would probably buy them and get his shopping ticked off. So your key value, I think, is that you can bring the books to people where they want them. You appeal to the lazy person that doesn't want to go on a mad shopping trip on Christmas Eve, but has to do it because they're disorganized. You appeal to the person that would love someone to bring books to their office so they can do their Christmas shopping there. Would love you to bring books to a home party so they can do it there. Would love to find your books online and your advice. Would love to be able to buy them when they pick their child up from school. Whatever it might be, your key selling point is you bring the books to the people. I was talking to one of our partners the other day who has a team member in Scotland. They don't have a bookshop within a 50-mile radius of where they live. If you are lucky enough to live somewhere rural like that, bring the books to where the people are. If you live in a village in the UK, bring the books to where they aren't. So that is your key advantage, that you are a bookshop that is portable and can bring the books to the people. Your main value is in helping people navigate the huge range of books available. I was in WH Smith's with my little boy the other day, and I told him he could pick a book. He mainly just kept picking books we already owned, which wasn't very helpful. But he was struggling to navigate all the books. And to be honest, I was struggling to navigate the book choices too. And that's as someone who spends my entire life surrounded by books. There's so much choice, it's almost impossible to navigate that choice. And I think this is where your key value lies, in that you can help people. There was a statistic, I can't remember the percentage, but the percentage of people that wouldn't go in a bookshop and buy books from a bookshop because they feel really overwhelmed by the choice, and they don't want to ask someone in the bookshop for help because they feel like there's too many other people, they're bothering them. This is where you come in. You are helping those people that feel like there's too much choice, they don't know what to do with it, and you can help them find the exact right book for their child. We all know the value of a personal shopper and the stress of Christmas and finding the perfect present for everyone in your family, or indeed your husband's family if they're slack and don't sort presents out themselves. So you have so much value in just taking that stress out. People can tell you what they're looking for and you can find it and source it for them. And I think the biggest point at the bottom is choice. I was at an event recently with Jill Rodwell, which was amazing. I had the time of my life selling books at her event. But the thing that I noticed is people were actively going to Jill because they'd bought a Sticker Dolly dressing book in Tesco, but they'd bought all the Sticker Dolly dressing books in Tesco. Their daughter was obsessed with them. They couldn't find any more, and she had 5 they didn't have, so they bought them. There was someone else that had got however many Don't Tickles that they'd discovered in Asda. Asda only stocked so many. They bought more Don't Tickles from Jill because she had the whole range. I actually think it is a good thing that our books are everywhere, because people will discover them, fall in love with a series, then they can't buy any more of that series because you're the only person that stocks them. So you offer people choice. They might love that That's Not My Books, but actually they don't want the most recent one because they really love horses or dogs or sloths or whatever it might be. You're the person that can find the book that suits someone's niche interest. It's why we are the biggest seller, I believe, in Usborne of 50 football skills, because no shop seem to stock it, but you guys sell it in its absolute hordes on World Book Day. So you sell the books that they can't find in the shops, the ones that are weird shapes and sizes, like the wind-ups. You are the provider of choice. And I think it's important to never forget that. Kerry will give you far more amazing information on the books that sell well at Christmas time, but I would divide them into 5 main types. So if you are new to Usborne, or you just really want to try something new, please add in the comments if you think there's another type as well. I think that would be very helpful, or some examples that match the types. But I think you have 5 main types of books. Number one are your high value gifts. This is where you're going to make your £120 order up really quickly. If you sell 6 wind-ups, depending on which wind-up you sell, you've done it. Or the lights and sound books that are about £13, you need to sell, was it, my maths is not this good this quickly, but maybe 9 lights and sound books is your £120 order. Your box sets, your encyclopedias, people will have a budget in mind that they want to spend at Christmas, that they know they spend on certain members of their family or their friends' children or whatever it might be. Don't shy away from the high value books, because again, at Jill's event, most of the people were buying the wind-ups, the lights and sound books, the don't tickles. They were buying the books that cost more than £10. People are more than happy to buy them. So definitely have them on your stalls or promote them to people because they wanted books that did a bit more. So I think don't forget your high value gifts and definitely challenge yourself to sell some of the higher value items. Have a flick through the catalogue, look at the website and see what appeals to you. The Christmas themed books, as you saw in the bestsellers, really do sell because people are actively looking for books with the word Christmas in them. I would say ones that are kind of your heritage books, that I'm sure most people do this, where you have your Christmas books and you bring them out every year and you read them and it's a nice family tradition and you might want to add a new one each year. Again, that's where you guys come in. Or Baby's First Christmas, kind of like get on that bandwagon. People want to buy these books because it's their baby's very first Christmas and they want to do everything really nicely and make it special. So they're the people that are going to buy your Don't Tickle Santa or your That's Not My Reindeers, because they want those kind of novelty books for the baby's first Christmas. I think you've got your stocking fillers. So Kerry always questions how big my children's stockings are whenever I bring up stuff that you could put in a stocking filler. It's more of a sack, Kerry, that my children have. But you've got your Osborne minis. They're classic. They're really low price, so you can sell those for your stockings. You've got your puzzles and crosswords. You've got some really, really sweet, lovely small books that would be absolutely perfect for stocking fillers. And this is kind of like the absolute opposite to the high value gifts. If you go onto the stock finder and you sort it low to high in terms of price, that's kind of giving you your stocking filler list of your small affordable bits that people might pop in their children's stockings. Your run up to Christmas books, so like your Advent, your like magic painting Christmas cards that children can get going with on the run up to Christmas, your Christmas themed activity books that you might not want to receive on Christmas Day, but you can do them in the run up to Christmas. So I feel like it's not just the day itself, it's all that excitement in the month of December. People will want these books obviously pre-December, so they're ready to go to enjoy them with their children. And finally, I think there's the interest books. So think about common hobbies. So 50 football skills, for example, sells really, really well on World Book Day because so many children have an interest in football. Lots of children, I've discovered, some of you might have more original children. I certainly don't. Lots of children like the same things, like dinosaurs, vehicles, unicorns, mermaids, ballet, football, gymnastics, those kind of things. So think about what common hobbies you know about and like spend 5-10 minutes just putting the word into the search tool on your website and see which books come up. So make sure you have books that appeal to interests. Certainly like grandparents, I think always seems to like to go for an interest. My gran once thought I was really interested in ladybirds. I wasn't, but she got me loads of ladybird themed items one Christmas because she thought I really like ladybirds. So there will be a grandparent out there that wants to buy every ballet book you own because their child has once expressed an interest in ballet. So yeah, I think interest books are definitely ones to go for. Please do comment along. It's great to see lots of you are filling up the chat with any other types of books you think are key for Christmas. I'm about to hand it over to Kerry, but just a reminder of some of the things that are available to you. There is an all partner training on Christmas. So this is a product knowledge session that's coming up on Wednesday, the 20th of September from 8 till 9. So that is with our lovely marketing assistant, Alison. So she's got lots of new Christmas books to show you then, and again, lots of great ideas for presents. if you type Christmas into tools and downloads, you get loads of different product images that have been all beautifully designed and photographed on festive backgrounds. They're not just Christmas books. There are other quite gifty books as well that they've put on festive backgrounds. And there's also some Christmas headers for your social media that you could use. There will be a whole kind of sweep of Christmas videos on YouTube as well, on Usborne's YouTube, that you can share. And on the homepage of the website, if you scroll down, this will get progressively higher up as it gets closer to Christmas. There is a Christmas shop on the website that you could obviously go on your own website, share the link from your website to the Christmas shop to your customers. It divides it by age, theme, interest. So there's lots of ideas and inspiration on there to make the most of too. And finally, before I hand over to Kerry, I would love for you all, you can write it in the chat if you're feeling brave, you can write it down on a bit of paper, you can message it to one of your friends right now, but what do you want to achieve for the Christmas season? I think it's really important to set yourself a goal, write it down and tell it to someone else to really push yourself, set yourself a personal challenge. So do you want to earn a certain amount in commission? So work out the number of books you want to sell to do that. Would you like to use Christmas to start some new relationships with schools or customers that you can carry on into the new year? Do you want to actually use Christmas to build a team and support other people to earn money in the run up to Christmas? Whatever your personal goal is, I would like you to write it down. And if you're watching this back, please do the same. And I would like you to share it with someone else. If you're happy to write it in the chat and share it with all of us, then please do so. But obviously don't plan out the actions now because you're going to be listening to Kerry. But write it down, kind of take it away from you after this session and just bullet point a few things that you are going to do each week, each day, each month to help you to achieve that goal. And now I'm going to hand over to Kerry. And stop sharing my screen.
Hello. Right, can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Lovely. Okay, so hi to those who don't know me. I'm Kerry Williams. I joined Usborne in the summer of 2017, so this will be my 7th Christmas with Usborne, which makes me sound really old actually. So I had a little 18-month-old when I first joined, and now she's 8, which I can't quite believe that time has passed, and it doesn't feel like I've done 7 Christmases either. They seem to have absolutely flown by, but it is my favorite time of year. So when Lucy emailed me asking me to do this session, it's probably the only topic that I didn't go no. Anything else I'd have been like not for me, but this one, yeah, I'll do this one. So firstly, I want to talk about social media because it's a big thing at the moment and people will probably have lots of questions about it, but I want to touch on it now so that we can put it to one side and forget that it exists for the rest of the evening, and you'll see why in a moment. But as far as social media is concerned, my social media has 3 purposes all year round, but especially at Christmas. That's to bring me recruiting leads, to bring me school leads, and to drive people to my offline events, let them know where I am and how they can come and join me and browse my books in person. We probably all know by now that the best way to sell our books is face-to-face and get them in front of people. Once you put those books in people's hands, they are irresistible. And unless you've literally not got a single penny to your name, there is no reason why you're not going to take that book home once you hold on to it. So I like to ignore my social media over this period and focus offline, which is what I do all year round, but more so at Christmas because I don't have time to be doing my social media as well as everything else. So my top tip for that side of things is get it scheduled. If you don't know what the scheduling function is, speak to your mentor after this, but spend an hour or 2 this week, next week, getting your social media scheduled ahead enough time so that you can then just switch off, leave it and focus on everything else that you should be doing at this ridiculously busy time of year. There's one thing I did write down was if you hide behind the social media during this season, you're going to miss out on all of the fun and all of the profits. So that's a little thing for you to think about, is if you're too scared to get out there, you're missing out on the fun. So put that fear aside and go for it. One of the things I do most at Christmas time is take my books out and about, as you've probably guessed. So I want to focus a little bit on pop-ups. Christmas for me is kind of a bit like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I don't mean like figuratively, and it is figuratively because we do eat all the Christmas food, but in terms of what Usborne can do for you in your business. So I'm going to touch on loads of different things tonight, but don't think once you've written it down, you read your notes tomorrow, you think, oh my god, that is too much, I can't do anything. Just pick out the bits that apply to you. Not everyone's going to be interested in building a team. Not everyone's going to be working with schools right now. Not everyone's going to be wanting to do 4,000 hours worth of events every week. So take the bits that apply to you and apply them, but also keep the rest in the back of your mind, because you never know when it might come in handy. So my pop-ups, I'll show you my little calendar. All those little hearts are my events that I've got in this season. Now, if you don't have just a little printout of Google of a calendar, I really strongly suggest you do one. I like to pencil in there what I've got going on socially. So like what I'm doing with Marnie, where we're going to see Santa or whatever, days that I definitely cannot Usborne, so that I know what availability I've got to go and do events. And then I can start building my diary around it. Now my diaries look like this since probably April time. And I'm now just trying to pencil in some bits where there's still white gaps, because I don't like white gaps. But this is a really nice tool to be able to visually see exactly what space and time you've got to be able to take your books out and about to places. And then you can work on filling those gaps when you know exactly what you've got. There's lots of stuff happening everywhere. Everywhere you look, especially sort of towards the beginning of October, you'll start to see them pop up. There's going to be events, there's going to be toddler groups going on, there's going to be village fairs, there's going to be stuff in your village hall, there's going to be, everywhere you look, there's going to be an event. And it can be very tempting to book yourself into absolutely everything, especially if it's your first year. But don't, first off, because what will happen is you will spread yourself too thin. You'll end up doing lots of rubbish events and you'll feel absolutely awful because you think, they told me to fill in all these events and now I've sold nothing. Be choosy about the events that you're going to go to, and by that I don't mean just select one. Select the best ones. I try and sort of weigh it up when I'm looking at events to go to. The question I ask myself is always, would I take my own kid to this event? I look at things like the parking, the access. Is it, I live quite rurally, so is this place in the middle of nowhere where nobody's going to trek to when it's peeing down with rain or snowing, and therefore probably there's not going to be any footfall? Is it an event that's being put on with a main attraction? So something like an Elsa, a really good Elsa, not just somebody's mum in a princess dress. That can be quite a good draw. So we did a Christmas market last year that Lucy came to, and on the Sunday morning, to get people in early, they had Elsa and Anna on the ice rink, so that would bring in the younger crowd early doors on a Sunday when usually people don't really go out. So that was a really nice drag. But I look at events like that, smaller events, and I think, right, why are people going to leave their warm house on a Sunday morning and go to this event? And if I think actually I probably would go to it, then it's one that I'll consider booking in. And then I'll look at things like where the footfall's coming from, is it linked to a school, etc., etc. I went off a bit of tangent there, sorry, but it's quite important stuff, I think. I have got some notes. I'm not very good at sticking to them, so bear with me. Yeah, I'll also look at things like weighing up what an event is going to do for me. So school Christmas fairs, I don't tend to have a lot of sales on the day from school Christmas fairs. Now, I'll probably do at least my £120 order, but I'm quite greedy and that's never enough for me. And there's some of you probably sitting there thinking, I'd love to have £120 at a sale, at a pop-up, and it will come. But I don't go to my school Christmas fairs with a selling frame of mind. I go to them purely to get myself a sponsored read and a book fair for World Book Day. Not only because it's then going to give me long-term business, but also because that's what I want to be doing. I don't want to be doing the little fairs. I want to be going in, selling £1,000 worth of books in a few hours and then leaving with a nice wad of money in my pocket. It's just better time-wise for me. So think about when you're going to those Christmas fairs, yes, I'm here to sell, but also how am I going to make sure that I use this fair to the best of my advantage, and what can it give me in the long run? So take your prize draw slips with you. I think it was Maria who did a whole training about prize draw slips not long ago. So have a watch back of that video because it was brilliant. But really use those to find your leads for the schools and the recruiting, because that's what you're there for ultimately. Yes, sales are great, and yes, sales will happen. And they are slightly, I'm going to use the word easier at this time of year. It doesn't mean they're going to land in your lap. You've still got to work to get them, but people are actively out there trying to make purchases at this time of year. Everybody, pretty much, because of Christmas, whereas you've got to catch the people at the right time through the rest of the year. So if they're actively looking to sell, then the sell from you is a little bit easier. Therefore, you can spend more time chatting, building the relationship, getting to know people, so that you can turn them from a quick and dirty into a long-term customer. That's Mel's favourite saying, that is. What else? Let me just check my notes so I haven't missed anything important. Lucy was just talking about books to have on your stalls. I try not to worry, or tell my team not to worry too much about what actual stock you've got on your stalls. If you're fretting about it, first of all, look at the focus month books and go for those ones, because if they're going to be everywhere anyway, you might as well use those ones. But also, people will buy whatever is on your stall. If you talk about it well enough and you talk about it passionately enough and it's there in front of them, in their hands, they will buy it, especially if it's got a unicorn or a dinosaur or whatever else on the front of it. And it's an Usborne, they know how amazing it's going to be, so they're going to buy it. So don't spend too much time worrying, have I got the right books in my stall? Just take whatever you've got, unless you've got 4,000 of them like I have. Don't take everything then, but take a good selection of what you've got that's going to be right to the audience. So school fairs, you want to have primarily fiction, and fiction sells all year round at any event you go to, so don't hide it away in a box. Make sure it's out there and make it proud. School fairs, I will have fiction as the main focus, so across an entire table, 2 or 3 book stands of fiction, because that's what the schools want, it's what the parents want, and it's what the kids go for as well. And then I tend to have a side stand on the floor, usually, of things like stickers and magic painting and things, because fiction is my focus, and it's what will get me the sales. This time of year can be good as well, especially towards the closer we get to Christmas, can be having ready-made bundles on your stalls. So if you've got 3 or 4 books that you can tie a nice little ribbon on and put a tag on with a price on, say 25 quid, you don't have to discount them either, it could be the exact price, but a bundle for 20 quid, 30 quid, 50 quid, ready made up, and make sure that the books in them make sense. Like, don't put like a science book for a 4-year-old in a bundle with a 9+ fiction. It's just not going to work. So make sure the books make sense, age-wise and sort of appropriateness. But having them there can be really good, especially for, and I'm really sorry about this if there are any men watching, but especially for the dads, because they tend to be a bit lazy with their shopping. And if they can literally just go 20 quid, job done, they will. And so if you've got those on your store, it can be really, really helpful. And it's a very quick and easy higher price sale. I do tend to stock up on a lot of higher price items this time of year, like Lucy mentioned. The wind-ups, I did this Christmas market last year, and I'm doing it for the whole month this year. I don't know what I was thinking when I booked it, but we only did 3 days last year, and I sold out of wind-ups. I only had 13 Santas and 1 racing cars, and I sold out of a lot of them. And I know full well if I'd have had 30 on the table, I'd have sold all 30. I'm not saying go out there and buy 30 wind-ups, but I'm definitely saying have some on your store, because they do sell. They're a brilliant gift. And if you've got one for your own children, take that along and use it as demo, so they can see exactly what, especially now we can't take the toy out because it's strapped in. Having a demo one is really helpful. So have that out and you will sell them. They are amazing for all sorts of ages. Puzzles, sound books. I sell a lot of jigsaws, probably because I love them and I've done them all myself with my little girl through lockdown. That's what kept us sane. So if you've never done an Usborne puzzle, get one, do it, and you'll fall in love with them too. And then you'll sell a lot more of them because you can talk about them. And Christmas stock. So Christmas books for me, I don't stock a huge amount of actual Christmas titles myself, unless it's one that's on special offer, because I find that parents want to have books for Christmas that the kids can enjoy all year round, rather than ones that they are just going to have for one day and then put away for the year. So I don't stock a huge amount. I make sure I've got some, usually the new releases or some staples that I know will sell everywhere I go, like the Christmas magic painting, for example. But if you're worried about stocking up, stock up on bestsellers that aren't Christmas titles rather than the Christmas stock itself, because then it doesn't matter if you don't sell over the Christmas period, you can still sell it for the rest of the year, rather than having to put £100 worth of books up in the loft ready for next year. Some people like to have nothing but Christmas stock, and that works for them. That's fine too, but that's just how I like to work things, because Christmas books, maybe it's because I'm not passionate about Christmas books in the terms of we don't have tons of them in my house for my child. We tend to have one a year. Maybe I'm tight, I don't know. And make your stalls look inviting. Whenever I've set up my stall, and anybody who's been to an event with me, because quite a few of my team have been, will tell you that I am an absolute nuisance when it comes to setting up my stall. I will set it up, or we will set it up, and then I will step back and look at it as if I'm a customer looking for the first time or somebody walking past, and I will instantly change everything about it. And I'll keep tweaking it every 5 minutes until it looks perfect. And it's never going to look perfect, but I like it to be symmetrical. I like it to make sense. And I like books that are the same to be together. So all the magic painting on one row, all of the sound books together in one place. I like to have the sound books lay flat on the table, turned on, so that when people lean on the table, children especially, when they put their little chin on like this, they're making noises and instantly they're hooked and they want to know what it's all about. And don't be afraid with the sound books to look like a fool. I am always dancing like an idiot to the Don't Tickle the Hippo book, because it gets people smiling. And if you can get people's emotional reaction from a book there and then in front of you, they're instantly going to want to buy it because they're going to want that feeling back again later on. So dance like a fool, wear a stupid hat, paint your nails a silly colour, wear a ridiculous flashing Christmas jumper, anything you've got to do to A, make you memorable so you can build that relationship, and B, help with the sale and that emotional connection. While we're on the building the relationship side of things, something that we bang on about a lot in our downline is customer lists. If you don't keep a customer list, start today. You don't necessarily have to backdate it. I certainly didn't backdate it when we started doing this a couple of years ago. In fact, it was in COVID, I think we started doing this. And I didn't backdate to day one because there was no way I was going to remember that. But I keep a customer list of everybody that I sell to, what they've sold, what I've sold to them, and also things that we've picked up in conversation. So the age of their children, when their birthdays are, what they do for a living, things like that, just so that I've got some conversation starters when I see them again. Because I would say 80% of my customers repeat custom because I go to the same places. It means that when you have new offers come out or you have new releases come out, I can go, oh, dinosaurs. Freddie loves dinosaurs. I'm just going to ping his mum a message and show her what's come out. And 9 times out of 10, they will add that to the order. But it also makes that customer feel like you actually give a damn. Amazon's not going to do that. Amazon's not going to jump in your inbox and say, hey, I noticed you bought this last year. Fancy having this one instead? Freddie's birthday's coming up. Would you like to? They're not going to do that. That's that extra service that Lucy was talking about that you can provide. It just keeps that relationship ticking over, and it gives a reason to jump in people's inboxes. I'm not somebody who likes to spam people. I don't do messaging people out of the blue for no reason. I just don't like it. I don't like it when people do it to me, and I wouldn't do that to somebody else. What I do like to do though is to message people for a reason. So like I said, there's a new fiction coming out, and it's just completely slipped out of my mind what it is. Let's Go Hollyborn. There's a new Hollyborn coming out at the end of the month, isn't there? I've got a customer who collects Hollyborns, so I'm going to jump in her inbox very soon. Do you want to get this pre-ordered for you? And I know she's going to say yes. And so that's a reason. So I don't feel like I'm spamming her at all. I'm doing her a favour. So you might not have seen it on my feed. We all know how reliable Facebook is. Therefore, I'm helping her out. But having that customer list can really help with that and building those relationships. I think that was it on there. Oh yeah, and start now. If you haven't done it in the past, start now. Because another reason why I loved it so much is when the world did go into chaos, and I'm not saying we're going to have another lockdown, but who knows what could happen in this crazy world right now. It helped me to connect with people when all of a sudden we couldn't leave our houses. And so having that as a backup, say if Facebook all went down tomorrow and you lost all your contacts and you lost all your messages, etc., how are you then going to speak to people? I've been WhatsApping customers now with this sort of information, so therefore I've still got a line to them. Yeah, start your customer lists. Where am I? Schools at Christmas time. I have already mentioned that I basically use Christmas schools to get my World Book Day sorted, but I also, this time of year, October and November parents' evenings are probably my absolute favourite school events all year. In fact, probably better than World Book Day ones, because people tend to spend a lot more October, November anyway, because obviously they want to do their Christmas shopping. But with parents' evenings, because I've seen the children in the day and done the wish lists, and then of an evening the parents come in, 9 times out of 10 parents go to parents' evening without the children as well. They find a babysitter, they come together, and it means that both of them will probably just have a good browse while they're there, as opposed to kids dragging them off. How many times have you been at a stall where a parent is wanting to buy a book and the child drags them away? That is my biggest bugbear. I'm like, come on, kid, you're about to get a book. Stand still for 2 minutes. But at parents' evening, you don't have that. The parent is there 9 times out of 10, just on their own, browsing. They will then often buy their kids' wish list books and say these ones for Christmas as well, and keep them away from the child. So you're getting sort of a double whammy. October, November, that is. They seem to be earlier this year, a lot earlier in October than they were last year. But get some of those booked in because they're really, really useful, and that's your volume sorted. And it takes you, I only do a day for my book fairs. I'm not going to click on that because it's going to open the thing. I keep trying to get rid of the comments flashing up. Or end of term gifts from the PTA as well. That can be a good one. PTAs will often fund books either from Father Christmas or just as a gift from teachers. So our school have a gift from the teacher on the last day of term, and it's always a book. It's never Usborne books, but it's always a book. But it's worth getting in touch with PTAs about that to see if you can help them and stretch their money further, as well as grottos, books for their grottos as well. The reason we don't have it in our school for the teachers' gifts is because the grotto gifts come from Usborne, therefore they don't want the same to confuse the children, even though the children all know me and know that I'm the one providing the Usborne books for the grotto. So it's a little bit backwards if you ask me, but there we are. And that's kind of it for schools, really. There's not much else I do with schools this time of year, apart from a sponsored read in October tends to work well. I don't know why, but every sponsored read I've had that's been hugely successful has been in October, weirdly, as opposed to March. So I don't know whether that's to do with people not spending money on fancy dress outfits in October, whereas they are in March. I don't know, but that can be a good time for that as well. Team building, as I mentioned at the beginning, the three sort of prongs to what I do. Team building is the other one of them. Now more than ever, I think people are panicking about how they're going to pay for Christmas with everything that the media is pushing on everybody about everyone's skint. Everyone's not skint. I'm skint right now, but everyone's not skint. But the media is making you feel like everyone is skint right now. And so people have been more organised, I'm finding, this year than ever before. Payment plans, people are asking, do you do payment plans? So that's something you could think about offering, where they pay you a little bit. I think it's only 3 paydays now, isn't it, till Christmas? 3, 4, something like that. But that's scary when you think about it, especially with the cost of living at the moment. People are like, so they want to get organised. So offering them the option to give you, so they could pick, for example, £60 worth of books, and then pay you £20 a month until then, and then you obviously deliver the books in time for Christmas once they've made all 3 payments. That can be a nice one to help both you and them. It means that you've got that guaranteed volume coming in December. For example, if you've got 2 £60 payment plan customers, that's your 120 order done for December. I've gone off on a tangent, haven't I? I'm talking about team building. But payment plans for, I am supposed to be talking about team building. I've completely lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? People are worried about paying for Christmas. So yeah, payment plans for customers, but building a team. You can help them to pay for their own Christmas shopping whilst helping other people with theirs. And that's quite a powerful thing. They're going to fill their own bookshelves, as you guys know, with books for their children without paying for them, and put some money in the pot whilst helping their friends and family and other people do their own Christmas shopping. And I think it's a really good time now to push it. I joined in July, as I mentioned, and that meant I had the end of the summer to build my customer base ready to smash the silly season period. So right now would be the time when I would be looking at adverts or posts geared at, do you want to pay for Christmas? I don't think it's too early. In fact, it might be a little bit late, but go for it now, because people do join this time of year like crazy. It tends to die down a little bit Christmas week, because by that point, people don't really want to spend any more money. They want to be settling down and eating all the cheese and the chocolate. But then from Boxing Day onwards, again, team building really sort of vamps up, because people are so full of cheese and chocolate that they then start to think new year, new me, and new ventures really do pop up again. So from Boxing Day onwards, start looking at it again and putting things out there. And it's also a really great season for team leader promotions, because of the volume is already going to be higher. You're already going to be doing more sales. Your team members are already going to do more sales. So if you want to look at promoting, start planning it in for October, November now. You absolutely can make it happen, even if you only joined today. And then, so there are lots of little things that I like to do this time of year that I don't necessarily do all year round, but this time of year it sort of adds that extra smile for people and takes the stress away from things a little bit for them, so that they leave with a good memory of me and the transaction and not a bad one. Things like pointing out if you don't think that somebody's made the right decision on a book. And obviously you need to be tactful about it, but if I've got somebody at a stall who's, quite often you have battle between child and parent, don't you? If I want this one, well, no, I want you to have this one. Don't be afraid to step in and say, well, actually, I think this third option would be a better compromise between the two of you. But also, if somebody's picked up a book, I can't think of any examples right now. They've picked up a book that isn't age appropriate. You feel like it's probably not going to be achievable for that child. Therefore, they're probably going to end up being disheartened and be put off reading. You don't want that. Parent doesn't want that. Child doesn't want that. Don't be afraid to say, well, actually, I've read this one or not. And I've come across this and this. Perhaps this might be a better option. People are going to appreciate your honesty. Again, Amazon doesn't care whether you buy that book or not. They just want your money. I care whether you're going to enjoy that book or not. Therefore, I'm going to tell you what might be a better fit. Having tubs of sweets on my stalls is always a winner. It pulls the children in. Avoid lollipops. As a parent, I hate lollipops. My child has never had a lollipop in her life, and it puts me in an awkward position when there's lollipops being handed to her by stall holders, or the blooming chippy. Stop using the chippy just because he gives her lollipops every time. Don't go there anymore. So avoid lollipops, but little like tubs of celebrations or whatever, that the kids can come over and put their hands in and, oh, while you're here, come and have a look. It also works well if you put it towards the back. So I tend to hold it to get people's attention that they're coming over. And then when they come over, I put it at the back of the stall where they've got to reach over the books to put their hand in and get one, because then they're in there and then they're going to go, oh, well, that made a roaring noise. So it's just a little sneaky little tip that I like to do. I like to put little relevant, and none of this is groundbreaking stuff for lots of you because you've been here a while, and I've probably picked up a lot of these tips over the years from you guys. But for those of you who are new, this might be a groundbreaking one. I like to put little bits in with my orders, so relevant activity sheets. There's loads of stuff you can print off, tools and downloads for free. Just little dots or colouring in, or obviously age appropriate ones, a little bookmark perhaps, but just something extra in there. Some people put sweets in. I don't tend to do that because A, I forget, and B, I always worry that sweets are either going to leak or chocolate's going to melt and damage the book, so I don't put those in, but I do put other bits in. And I also like, at this time of year, beginning of December, I send, and this is another reason I have my customer list, I send all of my repeat customers a Christmas card at the very beginning of December. So it lands in their inbox or letterbox the first weekend of December, because I'm reminding them that I exist right at the very beginning of December, before the cutoff for the last delivery, so that they've got time to place an order, because 9 times out of 10 they will jump in my inbox then to say, oh, thank you so much for the card. I don't do cards is usually what I get back, and I'm like, no, that's fine. But then it gets that conversation going again, so that's a nice little reminder for them. It's a nice little touch, because other bookshops are not sending them cards as far as I'm aware. And I try and put those in with the orders rather than post them. If it's people that aren't local, obviously I post them, but everyone else, they go in the bag so they've got them when they open them. And sometimes as well, I will also put in there a 10% off voucher for January to make them come back and spend with me in a month that can sometimes be quite tricky. Lots of those don't get redeemed, but even the fact that you put it in there is quite a nice little, oh, thank you. For my valued customer is usually how I word it. And I also offer sometimes, when I've got time, probably not this year, having just seen my diary, a gift wrapping service. So I do this all year round, to be honest with you, with birthdays especially. If I know that there's a child in the class who's got a birthday coming up and a couple of parents have pinged me a message saying I need this, I'll often say, do you want me to just wrap them and bring them to the party for you? And so they also do. So I usually, sometimes I do sometimes I whack on an extra pound or whatever.
No way.
It is and how much I'm wrapping, basically. But yeah, this time of year, I do sometimes say I can gift wrap them for you so they're ready. You can just put them under the tree. I also do store some books for really good customers. So I've got an order of advent calendars upstairs in my office for a good friend, but she doesn't want her little one seeing them. So I was like, you just leave them in my office and collect it at the end of November if you want to. She's like, oh, brilliant. Obviously, I'm not going to do that for everybody. But again, it's just those little extra things that you can do. How am I doing for time, Lucy? Oh my goodness. Told you I don't stick to the time, do I? I've only got a tiny bit more to go, I promise. And then there's all sorts of other extras that you can do. I haven't looked at the comments. I will go back afterwards. All other extra things that you can do, like advent stacks, Christmas Eve boxes, magic painting advents, jigsaw advents, stocking fillers. Just think about what you want to offer and how you want to offer it. Plan it out. Get it right before you put it out there. I sold quite a few jigsaw advent calendars a few years ago. I had absolutely zero intention of selling them or marketing them to my customers, but I had made one for Marnie and I was pretty chuffed with it. Posted it on my actual Facebook page, not my profile, not my page. And then all of a sudden, all of Marnie's friends' mums were like, I want one, I want one. I was like, this was not what I had planned, but they loved it. And so the year after then, they were asking for them again. But they're a nice little one. I won't go into details about how they work, but I'm sure you guys can speak to your mentors. They'll all know how it works, so I can post something somewhere. And I think that was everything on my list, other than a few top tips. Have I missed anything, Lucy?
No, I think that's been fab.
Okay, so my top tips that I haven't already covered, these are just sort of didn't fall. I've done this ridiculous, as Lucy called it, GCSE style revision mind math my notes, but these didn't fit anywhere, so they've gone as top tips. Firstly, keep a close eye on stock levels, especially of the Christmas titles and special offers. Things do go out of stock very quickly at this time of year, and that's a good thing. It means that we're selling, but just keep an eye on if you're going to schedule things well in advance, make sure it's something that's got a good few thousand in stock. If something's only in like 100 in stock now, don't schedule it for the end of November, because chances are it's going to be gone by then. Selling from stock can help you with that. So I sell from stock at 99% of my events. It just means that people can take books away there and then. I haven't got to mess around delivering things, and they haven't got to wait for their orders to arrive. And then it does also mean that if something does go out of stock while I'm out, it doesn't matter, because they've taken the one that's there. The last order dates for Christmas will be sent through via email, and it's usually about this time of year, isn't it, Lucy? You might have some insider knowledge on that one. But read the email thoroughly and make a note in your diary of every single date in that email, as long as they're all accurate, of the ones that apply to you and your customers. And I say that because I've got a couple of customers in France and Spain who are a lot earlier cut off than we are here. So make sure you write the ones down that apply to you in your diary, and make sure you also give your customers lots and lots and lots of reminders, because you will always get those few people after you've posted 4,000 times and told them twice at the school gates. It's the 10th of December that on the 12th will go, okay, I'm ready to order. And you want to scream. So give them plenty of reminders. Make a note in your diary. In fact, this is something you could do tomorrow or tonight if you haven't been thrown too much information at. Make a note in your diary of when you're going to take time off from your Usborne business, just like you would have annual leave from any other job. When you're going to take time off, when you're going to step away and spend time with your family, be it from the 23rd till the 27th, whatever it is. Whether you want to take 2 weeks off, that's fine. Do what you need to do. But also make a note of the day that you are returning back to work, because if you don't, you're going to be full of cheese and chocolate still, and come January you're going to be so sluggish that you just can't be bothered, and you're going to really, really struggle to get back into the swing of things come January. So make a note of exactly the day that you're going to come back and schedule in an hour's worth of Usborne time on that day, so that you can focus, get your head back in the game, like a lot of us have done last week when the kids went back to school. That one's really important. If you don't plan it, it's not going to happen. You'll be winging it, and you will be chasing your tail constantly. And the last thing I have to say is that silly season only works if you do. Silly season doesn't mean that everything, all the opportunities, all the sales and everything are going to jump in your lap, and you're going to earn thousands of pounds just from sitting at home with a Santa hat on, and with your feet up and a cup of tea. It's not. Silly season works for the people who put themselves out there, who take every opportunity, who go to the events, who show up on social media still, who do the things that you need to do to bring in that opportunity. And that's everything I had on my list, Lucy. Hope that was okay.
Thank you. Can we give massive, you're only going to hear my clapping because everyone else is muted, but you can see the happy clapping. A massive round of applause for Kerry. That was phenomenal. I saw everyone frantically writing down loads of ideas. I also credit to Paul, who is probably one of the lone male rangers in this thing. I loved Paul said it was him too.
Brilliant.
Bundles, I think, genius. My husband is basically who you were describing. He would see it, think 30 quid, job done, and buy it. And actually, yeah, the kind of little tips were absolutely genius. We have had loads of questions, so we're going to go through those now. I'll try to scroll backwards, but if you had a question and I've missed it, or you've got one now, could you please add it in and we will answer the question. I say we, I won't. Kerry will answer your questions now. So I'm going to try and scroll. Kerry, I mean, I really love how actively engaged people were commenting as well, and involved with things. Okay, people have gone into the categories. Okay, right, I'm failing currently. Oh, okay. And also thank you to people for sharing right, I'm going to go to the end because I'm losing questions. There was a question that I saw while you answer, Kerry, then I'll scroll and find more questions. That was about not having much stock and what your advice is on people doing events without much stock.
It's a hard one. If you can afford to buy a bit more stock, then do so, because I think you're always going to have a better result from selling there and then on the day. If you can't, it doesn't matter. Roll with what you've got. Like I said at the beginning, people will buy what's on your stall as long as you talk about it passionately enough. So make sure you've read or at least flicked through all the books that are in your starter kit, for example, so that you're familiar with them. Go live and talk about them in your team group if you don't feel confident doing it out there on social media straight away. Practice in your team group, practice on the phone to your mentor, practice in the shower. Just talk about the books and enjoy them with your own children, and then you'll talk about them more passionately. You don't need every book in the catalogue in your upstairs tiny bedroom like some of us do. We've just got issues. You can go with what you've got. Don't worry about it. You'll build it up eventually using your freebies anyway.
I'm still scrolling for questions, but I know a question that frequently comes up. You had loads of really good tips about stalls and kind of like what decision process you go through as to choose which stall. We regularly get questions about the price that people pay for stalls. Do you have any thoughts of like what considerations you go through when you're told a price that a stall is?
Yeah, generally I don't pay anything crazy. Like, so this big Christmas market I'm doing for the whole month, I'm obviously paying quite a lot for that. But having done one weekend last year, it cost me £66 for the one weekend, and I sold just over £1,000 worth of books. So therefore it was worth it. So this year it's costing me 300 quid to do the whole month, which again, when you break it down to how many days we're actually there, it works out like £22 a day, which sounds a lot better than £300 for the month. But if I continue on that £1,000 a weekend, then it's going to be a really profitable event. But would I pay £300 for a toddler group? Absolutely not. Would I pay £300 for a village event? Absolutely not. You've got to weigh it up against what the event is and what the footfall is going to be. 9 times out of 10, I can probably haggle out of a fee by offering either free books or a percentage of sales anyway. I had a school event. A school contacted me asking me to go along to, it's a private school, asking me to go along to their Christmas fair in November. And when I read the emails, like, this sounds really exciting, but they wanted £40 and 10% of my sales on the day. And I was like, absolutely not. And so now I'm paying £15 that's it, because I said that's not achievable. The money isn't needed. It's a flipping private school. They've got far more money than I have. So yeah, don't be afraid to haggle. Sometimes if you know what you're worth and what you can afford, then don't be afraid to haggle and say, actually, could we come to an agreement with books, especially in schools? PTAs are quite often happy to take books instead. Toddler groups will always take books. Some toddler groups will also take books for their own children rather than the actual group. So they do their shopping in exchange for me being there, which works quite nicely. But yeah, just haggle is probably my top tip on that one.
We had a question which was, do you find the stacks still sell even with the advent calendars?
Yep. Yeah, it's different horses for different courses, isn't it? A stack. Oh, do you mean an advent stack or just like a bundle?
It just said stack.
I'm guessing that's bespoke advent calendars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, they are different. They're very, very different. Your advent stack is going to be more bespoke to what that child wants rather than the selection that's already in there. So doing one fiction book a week for an older child, for example, is going to be favourable over an advent calendar for an older kid. And also, I remember a customer before, I think Kirsty's watching, she had a customer whose little boy was, I think he was deaf and blind. And so she built, I think it was £120 stack for Advent for him around all the sensory books that we do. There we go, there's Kirsty. Thanks, Kirsty. And so there you go. So that's not going to, an Advent calendar that's £14.99 from the office isn't going to suit his needs, whereas Kirsty was able to put together a bespoke package for him that mum was happy to pay more for because it really did suit exactly what he wanted. So yeah, they're two different items. I wouldn't worry too much. It's like we've got how many different dictionaries, how many different Bibles, every single one's going to have a different need somewhere.
How do you contact schools to get involved with Parents' Evening?
Phone them, email them, phone them, email them, phone them, email them, phone them, until eventually they give in and let me come in. I send packs out to local schools, sometimes in a bag with some biscuits in, details in. I've driven around the schools locally to do that a few times, follow them up with a phone call. I've taken stuff in via friends who work in schools or who have children in schools, and just don't give up. It took me, there's a school opposite my house. I can hear the children. I can hear the head teacher screaming at the children sometimes. It's that close to me. Yet it's taken me 4 years to get a booking in there. I tried everything. Eventually, it took £1,000 CBP donation from a local business to get them to listen to me. But yeah, just keep trying, because eventually you'll hit the right person at the right time and it will be a yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to scroll and not miss anything.
Can I just add, Lucy?
Yes, hello.
What Kerry was saying about don't worry about your stock. Don't be left with too much Christmas stock too close to Christmas, because people don't buy a Christmas themed book to open on Christmas Day. So any of the Christmas magic painting, they won't be buying it to wrap to open on the 25th. They'll want it pre that. So while you want to buy some Christmas stock, just think that you don't want to be left with it for a year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that goes kind of very much in line with what Carrie was saying about generally not having too much Christmas stock. So actually, I know sometimes people stress every year if a Christmas book goes out of stock, it doesn't really matter. Number one, there's lots of different titles of Christmas on, and number two, there's so many other books you could sell. Does anyone have any final questions for... Oh, okay, yeah. This is slightly different, but I think welcome, Lucia. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name, who is writing from Italy. And Kerry, is it possible for her to have your Facebook contact so she can follow you and see what you're up to on Facebook? And also, Kerry, do you have any advice on having a good start to your business?
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. It's Beau's Bookshop, BEAUS Bookshop. Not a problem. As for having a good start, throw yourself all in. You've got absolutely nothing to lose by going full force and trying to achieve all of your quick starts. I quite like a carrot, so quick start was good for me because you dangle it in front of me, I'm having it. And so if you're that way inclined, some people aren't, some people are terrified by them, but if you're that way inclined, then go for them, because you've got nothing to lose, and even if you don't achieve them, your business is going to grow as a result. And obviously, as everything we've talked about tonight, this time of year is a great time to have a really good start, because people are spending. So jump on it and just put yourself out there, take every opportunity. And what's the saying? Hard work puts you where the good luck finds you. I like that one as well. I'm full of cliches, me.
But they work, so why change them? So I think that was it for questions. And actually, we've been fairly bang on time. So I'm going to start recording if I can actually find the button.